Hey everyone, and welcome back to our Behind Her Brand Leadership Series. So today you're going to immediately notice that we are doing something different today. It's the first time in, maybe we're going into our fourth year that we have ever interviewed a couple. And this is an incredibly beautiful, connected couple that I'm so excited to have on here today because they really represent everything that we believe in when it comes to building. It's not just about the female side, but just building, period. They are a unit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about just how they build together, but also about a new project that they are getting ready to birth. So I want to introduce you guys to Christopher and Denecia Ramsey. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
It's our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. And we're the first couple.
Yes. So first, let me ask you both. As you guys know, our platform features primarily women behind her brand. And we know that in reality, you don't build alone. So talk to us a little bit about how you both are building businesses together. Like, just give me a little bit idea of what that process is like as a couple, because I know that can't always be easy.
Definitely, us building our brand together definitely starts with a vision. Let me say that. And then communication. The good news is he's my best decision. He's my best friend. So it's so easy to build a business with him. We talk about our visions. I am a planner, so I'm always writing down things. And then definitely seeking the Lord in our journey on what he wanted to look like for us is how we have gotten this far.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, we have core values, and we design our lives around those core values, and we spend time in prayer trying to determine what have been the common themes that have led to success. Trusting God, living with integrity, and honoring relationships for the past 20 years have been the recipe for success in every dimension of our lives. And we said, what could we pass down in its simplest form to our babies?
Right.
3 core values that they could memorize. And from there, we said, what are some pillars or guiding principles that will provide structure around those values? Things such as veracity, telling the truth, living a life of balance, discipline, practicing, and being mindful. And then from there, we ask God to fill in the blanks.
Yeah. As only he can.
As only he can. Like, what are our attributes? What are our strengths? What are our passions, our interests? What are our connection points? And then I'm reminded, I know that we may have, we do definitely have a diverse audience. We just happen to kind of lean towards the Christian tradition, but there's a scripture that says that he is made strong in our weaknesses. And to me, there's a scripture that speaks towards compatibility. So where I might have a weakness is really just an area where she's a perfect fit, and vice versa. And so that's how we've been able to kind of build out the Ramsey way, which is our brand, if you will.
Okay, so let me ask y'all about, because I know that you guys do something at the beginning of the year, like family planning, just with your vision and everything. But before we get to this point, was there ever a time where you guys had to work through being in alignment with the same vision? Because I know that arriving here took some work. So how did y'all work through just the beginning stages of, we got to be on the same page?
I'll go first this time because I think I had to grow the most here.
Okay.
Babe doesn't remind me of this as often as she used to because we're 20 years deep. She might be forgetting that she used to say this to me all the time. But she reminded me that I would always compare us to one another. And she would say to me, finally, Christopher, I'm not you. We don't see things the same, and we're not supposed to. So I think you need to start to let that go. And when I accepted that, things started to change. And I realized that we are on the same team. We may have a different idea of what the right play is to run, using a sporting analogy. But we can go to the drawing board and figure that part out. But what's most important was us evolving to a point, being patient with each other enough. I think that's why 1 Corinthians 13 starts with love is patient. You got to start there. Like, give one another time to learn one another. Don't quit before you learn. Stay in the game and learn how to be a unit. Don't take things too seriously as well. Be willing to adapt and adjust. Don't take things too seriously. And it ain't all about me. Can't always be right.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
that's how I had to learn too, not always being right. I'm one that self-reflect a lot, Kim. And so, after, having a disagreement or not seeing eye to eye or learning each other, especially in the beginning of a marriage, you go back and say, okay, well, what could I have done better or different?
Right,
Not that it's always me, okay?
Yes.
But are you in it or you just quick to give up? And so being married before and knowing what I wanted this time, knowing what the Lord had promised me, that kind of helped me say, okay, let's talk about it. Let's go back to the drawing board. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
I think I want to
like
add
that.
one more thought to that, if I could.
Of course.
That is, there were areas where you were quite successful before me and you ever met. And it's important, maybe this is good advice for those who are starting out on the journey. There are skills and attributes that are apparent in one another prior to the relationship, and let those continue to be strengths in the relationship. Babe was very business savvy, very detail oriented, very good at administration. So there's no sense in questioning that now that you're a team.
Yeah.
Just let that shine, and vice versa.
Yeah. You both said something that I think is so sadly common today. And I would love to kind of hear some of your input on it. Not to quit, and to stay really committed, because I know the root of not quitting is really being committed. So can you give some insight into, because doing business and doing marriage and living life and all the things that come with it can be a challenge, period. And it can be a strain on a marriage. What made you both so committed to saying we're not quitting? What was some of the foundational things there?
For me, again, doing this a second time and knowing what I wanted before we got together, we met in the church. Short story. We met in the church, and one of the things that our pastor that I had honed in on was writing a vision. So I wrote a vision for myself. I was single at that time, and the story of us, it's 6 months and we were married. Now, I'm not saying for everyone to do that.
What you do.
You really have to you really have to have a discerning spirit and hear from the Lord. And I know that we heard from the Lord. But writing that down and knowing what I wanted. So saying that, and then when we got together, we created our own vision. And that, because it's been times where we probably wanted to quit. Let's just be honest, And we go back to that vision. We go back to that foundation, and that kind of hones us in. It reminds us of what we not doing, what we forgot to do, and what we need to do. And that helps me know that it's not quitting time. You just need to, you always go back to the drawing board, right? You always trying to get better in any relationship or anything that we set out to do. How, you were self-reflect and say, what could I have done better? Not that it was bad, but what could I have done better? And we do that in our relationship.
Yes. I will say that commitment is a decision that is reinforced by a few things. One of which is we can't be what we don't see. So we have to post up. We have to place in different places throughout our home, in our offices, in our cars, on our bathroom windows, exactly what we're striving for. And that's what we've done. We even brought a couple of examples. Just about everywhere we can, we're posting up visually our vision. And then we're building memories together around our commitments. Make it hard to quit by building memories. Work together on these goals. Make them family activities so that when you falter or when you question whether or not it can happen,
Yeah.
you can pull back on those memories and say, we had some good times building that. You got to build some equity there.
Yeah.
And then there's just, good mentorship and access to information like this.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
saw people be committed, and
Yeah.
that helped us.
Yeah.
Or we heard people talk about the benefits of commitment and how that's the glue to really make something work.
Mm-hmm.
So mentorship, being what you see by keeping it posted,
Yeah.
practicing every day with your partner, and
Yeah.
building memories around what you want to build, so that it's more than just business, it's personal and it's passion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So you guys have a saying, the Ramsey way.
Yes.
Tell me about the Ramsey way.
The Ramsey way definitely is built on our core values, which you heard him speak about, which is trust in God, living with integrity, and honor relationships. And so we build it on that. We have a family slogan, which is the sky's the bottom. And we have a scripture that, helps center our family, which is Romans 10:11, which is those that put their trust in the Lord should not be ashamed. Those who put their trust in the Lord shall not be ashamed. And so that's the Ramsey way. And so we build it around that, and we tailor that. So things that we do, whether it's relationships, honor relationships, working out in community, because that's a relationship, living with integrity, being truth tellers, trusting God when we have those valleys, trusting God and leaning on Him, and people seeing that. So we don't just say it, we see it. So, when we go through a valley and they say, you don't look worried, or it's not that we're not praying about it. We also trust in God, and we are 20 years in, so we've been through some things. And, and I can tell you, definitely trust in God. He's always in the center. And so that helps relieve some of that anxiety. And we mentor that or show that for our children. So now that when they are going through some things and have challenges in relationships or work or what have you, we have some tangible experiences to share with them. That's the Ramsey way in my perspective.
Yeah.
Beautifully stated, boo boo.
Okay.
Okay. So, you want to share?
Yes, the Ramsey way kind of leans on to what the Father said in Genesis: be fruitful and multiply. In every area of life, can we be fruitful? In our marriage first, because that's the cog of the wheel. Right. In our family, then in our relationships, in our extended families, in our immediate families, in our friendships, then out into our community, local politics, state politics and beyond, in our businesses, our family businesses, in the companies where we work. All of those different hats, the mission is the same. Be fruitful and multiply, and that's the Ramsey way. And then in addition to that, my father, he set a standard, Charles Ramsey, and I set to live up to it. And I'm so glad I met a beautiful queen who also admired those values. And we said, this is a way of being. This is just not a last name. Yeah. And we want our children to adopt this culture and teach it to our grandchildren.
Nice. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Before we get into some of the projects you guys are working on, what would you say to a couple that is in a place where they're just not seeing eye to eye and they can't seem to get there? They're not ready to quit, but they just can't get there. What would you say to them?
I would definitely say seek counseling. Of course, if not together, separately in the beginning, and one that is someone that they don't know, so they can, have someone to tell the truth or share with them what, it needs to be shared. I also would say find a mentor. If they not ready to quit, but they having their challenges, find a mentor, someone, they can set their criteria. We look for those who've been married for a long time, because we know they went through some things. And that are Christians, believe in our faith, and so we have mentors, and we don't mind seeking it out, asking for guidance. Definitely, if believing, trusting in the Lord, being willing to come together.
Yeah.
Find what works. It may be a book, it may be the Bible. We've had a book study together that his needs and her needs. Remember we did that one together early in our marriage, and we came together and talked about it. Just I can go on, but I'll see what you want to share.
And I think one of the reasons you can go on and on is because after 20 years, we know that what can cause disagreement can be so different that the prescription may not be the same.
True.
But what is important is it's time to stop and it's time to listen. It's not time for pride. It's not time to assert one's own desires. It's time to slow down. It's just like if we were lost, traveling to a place that we did not know. We're either going to call for help, we're going to pull over and talk to somebody who may know the way, but we're not going to assume that we both know the way. If we're lost, clearly we don't know.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So let's get somebody on board who might.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the right step, is just acknowledging we don't know what to do, but we both know we want to be together and figure this out together. That's not a small step.
Right.
That goes back to the example of just remember we're on the same team. We just may disagree on the play.
Yeah.
And oftentimes one person may be more passionate than the other because it's like, that's their baby. So you gotta let them explore and feel that thing out. We might not have the answer. So it's, you know what, babe, I might not feel comfortable with moving, $5,000 over towards the business for that. But you believe so strong, you're worth it. Let's try. And we'll circle back and take a different approach if that doesn't work. But I know one thing, even if the $5,000 doesn't hit the home run, it will build strength in that relationship because your partner believes in what really matters to you. But with the book, the funny story with the book, that we might get to later, I remember one, I was gung-ho about it years ago. Let's be all in right now. And babe was like, I believe in the project. I don't believe in the timing. Oh, I needed to hear that.
He was shook at first.
Yeah.
I was on fire, ready to go.
He was ready.
But that's the beauty of marriage.
Yeah.
She was like, we have to count the cost. It does not mean no. It means let's evaluate our current situation and see where it falls in the plan.
Yeah.
And me kind of calming myself down and hearing that was fundamental to good time.
I love it. There's so many different points that I wish we had more time to really unpack it, because I love that you both mentioned about counseling, because it takes away the stigma that we can't do counseling. I think sometimes there's such a erroneous viewpoint around all of that. And then you can hear just the threads of life, because you guys have grown to a point of just trust, to be able to trust your partner, to be able to trust what they're saying. Because, what I hear a lot when women are building is that their partner doesn't trust them with the decisions. They don't trust them in this space, or they trust them in certain categories, but not this and not that. But there's just needs to be an element of just trust, this trust that they can see things that maybe you can't see, or discern that this is just not the right timing. So I love that you guys spoke on both of those things, because that's one of the biggest things that we hear, which is why we want to start interviewing couples, because, which I know is a little different for our platform, but I think it's just as valuable, because the women that we attract are building with their husbands. And even with their husbands, some of them are directly involved, some are indirectly, but they're there. And there's so much experience and expertise, but the common thread is mentors, counseling has got them through. But it's almost like in other situations we've seen where people are afraid to say they need that help, and I don't think, I just wish that stigma wasn't there. Yeah.
Especially for us guys, we have got to get comfortable being vulnerable.
Yeah.
It helps. I'm a therapist, so I know the benefit of having one.
Yeah.
And I've got one, and I'm grateful for mine.
And I am too.
Yeah. We have one too, and me and Charles both believe in it. And it's funny because he's more of the one that was more emotional, because this is our second marriage. And so we had to learn a lot. I had to unlearn a lot too from just, just the pain from the first situation. And so we learned just through therapy. It helped us tremendously be able to communicate. I mean, I'm grateful that he suggested it because it allowed us to create such a beautiful bond where we can really talk things out differently and have more tools, if you will, to be able to communicate and grow together. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I look at my babe's face and I think, how could I not trust that lady?
Aw.
How could I not?
Right.
But I will say, you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to trust, I mean, why, as my best friend says to the guys, he teaches the men's group, and he says, why in the world would you marry somebody that you don't think is smart enough to help you navigate through life?
Yeah.
You don't trust them and you married them?
Yeah.
That's on you.
Yeah.
So take time as a man to really reflect. That's why I say babe is my best decision. When I question my ability to make good decisions, I look at her and I say, I think I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Because the best decision that I've ever made sits right here. I can trust her. I can depend on her. I can rely on her for everything and anything. And that is something that a man has to think out very carefully, because as the scripture says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So don't rush. When you have found that person that you can trust with your very life, with your very dream, with the vision, that's the one.
Yeah.
Because she will help you and you will help her to build and design a life that is worth creating into a culture to pass down to your grandchildren. That's a fact.
Very true. So let's talk about that. What you guys are building. What you guys are in terms of legacy. So I'm just going to leave it there. Tell us what y'all are building right now.
Oh, God is good. So much. Yeah. Well, where do we start? I'll kind of start, baby. You can fill in the gaps. First, I want to talk about community because that's part of our business model. The city of Bryant, where we live, it's a small town, but it's growing. And we have been privileged to be a part of guiding that growth in various ways, from participating in the community engagement committee that did not exist prior to Babe running for public office. We had made a suggestion that we create something like that to keep the residents engaged in local politics and informed in community growth. And our city officials took that seriously and launched it, and we're a part of that. Cool. We're also a part of Bless Bryant, which is it's an initiative within our city to do various community service activities and charitable activities to raise morale, provide support, and make sure that each resident knows no matter what their station in life is, there is love and support available for them here.
Yes. New committee that's just been formed, I was asked to be a part of, which is the funding committee, where we'll be looking at oversight for funding for our local employers like the firefighters or police officers. So I look forward to participating and sharing in that as well.
Yes, we've had the good fortune to sit on the promotional board and in the hiring board for our local police department. So being fruitful and multiplying in that space, and then also in family, Ramsey Rentals. We're grateful, by the way, for God's protection of resources and provision, because today marks the coldest day in our state, I believe. We've got rental properties within Ramsey Rentals, and we've been thinking about pipes.
Oh, yes.
We've been thinking water. About HVAC systems, things that business people have to think about.
Yeah.
But that's a part of our business portfolio. And we're remodeling, we're renovating. It's always on our mind whether or not we should expand or just stay right where we are. But that's an investment for retirement and our future for our babies.
Nice.
That's really what we're thinking about. We should leave an inheritance to our children's children. That's a command.
Yes, it is.
And so that's part of our business portfolio. What else? I don't want to leave anything out as we go across the spectrum. Before we get there, I want to jump right there. Before we get there, I want to jump right there. Oh, also, I am a professional therapist, but we have our sights set one day on launching our own professional holistic health and wellness center.
Oh, wow.
Can't reveal the name because I don't want it to be taken. Somebody might be like, I like that. But it's holistic care, integrated holistic care with a multidisciplinary approach. That's on the way. But the seed for that may very well be
there you
what you have helped us to create.
Awesome.
Our very first book.
Yes.
This has been a dream of ours. It's called Be, subtitle of Following Jesus to Self-Transcendence. What does that mean? That means there is a higher dimension in all of us. There is a higher level in all of us. We may feel restricted. We may feel boxed in. Jesus provides the blueprint on how to move beyond that, to get beyond fear, doubt, shame, worry, all of those things that make us feel like we have to stay where we are, or not be who we can truly be. You can see how passionate about it I am. I start to sit up. But we're looking to launch this soon, and we're building a business model around this. We're working with a few folks to get a marketing strategy together. So you'll see more of a social media imprint from us soon. You don't really see my face much, but Babe is, and I've been encouraged to do something about that. Because we have to expand this brand. But the book, we hope that God will bless and use that to fund the family business where we can launch our holistic health and wellness center to provide integrative multidisciplinary care for our residents of all kinds. And with this package, we want to be able to provide reflection cards, audio affirmations, audio books, workbook, coaching and developing. So much to come from this. Just like the sunflower on this, there are many seeds to this one plant that we're sowing into the earth. And we're so grateful for you and your many business ventures that help to bring this to pass. Honoring relationships.
Absolutely.
Well, I have a couple of questions for y'all around that project. And I think it's so important to say because in our platform, you don't always hear how women stand behind their man. I remember when she reached out to us and she was like, I want to do something and I want to do it like, like covert, like she had a whole thing with it. Okay. And it was beautiful. And you don't hear that too often. And our team, we even said, I don't think we've ever had a woman, and we've done this for 13 years, ever do that for their spouse. And we were really looking through and we never had. So I want to kind of go back just a little bit, Denecia, why did you want to do that for him?
We have been talking about B since we've been married. He's been writing this book since before I knew him.
Okay.
And so the Lord has given him so much, and it was always, well, it's not time. Then I said it wasn't time. Then it was, he wanted to get his credentials. And I just knew it was time. I said, we got to get this book out. We got to get it out of him. And it was nothing but the Lord. I saw a post that you had made one time, and I said, I'm doing it. And I wanted to support him wholeheartedly. When I called you, I said, I don't care what the cost is. I let him decide. I want it done. And I want him to be able to, and he was so shocked. And he put a lot of work, a lot of time sitting at this computer, putting it all together, the graphics, the tables, and so many things that you will find in the book. And just not a weight off his shoulders, but I could see it was the analogy of maybe birthing a baby. And so I'm so grateful and so honored to just be a part to support it. We supported each other throughout the 20-year journey that we've been on, whether it's been school, work, family. My husband's originally from Texas and he's here in Arkansas. So I thought that was just one of many things that I'll be able to give to him. So I'm so grateful to be able to support him and see it here tangible. And I can't wait to share it and just see what the Lord has in store. Again, we were already envisioning building on it. And I'm just so grateful to do that.
If I may, I wonder if I may add something to that for the brothers who need to get over that trust hump that you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, brothers, if my brothers who may be tuning in will do a better job of investing in their partner, they will find that it will be reciprocated at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because me and Babe have worked together. We've had some of our best memories, color streeting together. Ooh, we have had a blast. Do you hear me, sis?
Campaigning.
I'm not playing. We have had a blast.
Oh, I love that.
Being a color street stylist, going to shows, I never thought that I would have the fun that I had.
Yeah.
But we have grown close and we have dated through her business. Like, turning business into an opportunity for love and romance is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. When you were campaigning for public office and we turned it into a family affair, rich and meaningful. We love when Google Photos or pull up something from 2 years ago. Well, I bet it was nothing. When we fast forward through time and you're like, what can I do for you? Because this interchange of just rushing to bless each other, making it a priority to be good to one another.
Yes.
Competition of just putting each other first.
Yes.
Just thinking about, him.
So, brothers, if you want trust, sow trust.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. Because people always ask me and Charles faithfully, like, does he come to everything you do? And if he's able to be there, he's going to be there. He's up late at night helping me pack, do this, do that, brainstorm, create. I'm at the events. He's there to make sure I eat, because sometimes I'll just be going. He's like, I need you to sit down and eat. He's there to pick up and clean up. And, and he's had a couple people ask, like men wise, like, why do all of that? Like, don't you have other things you could be doing? And he's like, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. He has his business too. And I support him in the same way. When he has photo shoots, I become photo assistant. I pick up, I make sure he has the stuff. And we just work in tandem in that way, and it's a beautiful thing that it should be common. But we're finding this not very common in a lot of ways. And we want to kind of share more of these kind of stories because it could help another couple see, well, how can we work better together? How can we show up for each other? And like you shared, what you did for her. And then now the seeds of that shown in the harvest of her saying, I want to do this for him. It should be normalized that supporting should be in that way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said. I love that word normalized.
Yes.
It should be normalized. That's what this platform is doing. It's let's talk about it and let's spread the seed.
Yes.
Let's take some of the pressure off. It really is better this way. I want to get the word out. Guys, gals, it's better this way.
It is.
We're each other's cheerleader too.
Yes.
I remember when I was in school and I would have him proofing my paper. He would red ink it, Kim. Like, he was just making me better. Or when I was campaigning, helping me write, looking at something. I think you should do this. I think you should do that. And trusting that, he's not just throwing me out there. It's our brand, and he does it because he loves me.
Exactly.
And so the same thing, I wanted to do for him. How can I give back to him in a way that I know that he will be so happy and appreciative, which he is, and still is. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, I just have a couple more questions for you all. Okay. So Christopher, take me back to, she mentioned that the B started even before you knew her. What started the B journey? Like what was that one catalyst that said, this is this?
I have to say vision.
Okay.
It came to me. If I could show you, this was years ago. I created a vision board, and the audience might not be able to see this so clearly, but on my vision board was just a bootleg picture of a sunflower seed and the word "be" with the sky.
Yeah.
And it was shown to me, and I held on to it. And ever since, there's a story in the introduction. Ever since I was young, I had always admired the character and the nature of Jesus. I thought it is so profound that a person can love in those circumstances, and in those conditions, and so fully and unconditionally.
Right.
I sought to strive to be a disciple.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that uh, I, like all people, were running
Mm-hmm.
into myself. I couldn't get beyond myself. And I said,
Yeah.
how did he do it?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just enough for me to study it myself. It must be shared because the demand is to be fruitful and multiply. So if it's going to bear fruit in my life, I've got to give it in some other form. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought in the vision, it's got to be the book. And then fast forward,
Yeah.
and that cover
Yeah.
is just almost identical.
Yeah.
So just staying true to that internal vision that was within me and
Mm-hmm.
allowing that passion to guide me and
Mm-hmm.
just really leaning into my archetype, which is Jesus himself. And
Right.
I feel like that message is timely for now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time for love. It's a time for self-sacrifice. It's a time
Mm-hmm.
for selflessness. It's a
Yeah.
time for us to invest in one another. That won't happen if we're caught up in ourselves. We've
Right.
got to transcend ourselves and our hang-ups and our hurts and our fears and doubts and get
Mm-hmm.
back into the business of connection and harmony with one another
Mm-hmm.
now more than ever.
Right.
So I think this book is right on time.
Yeah, it is. So my closing question to you both is, well, actually twofold. I would love for you all to share what's next for the Ramseys. And then I would also love for you guys to share any closing thoughts to couples, or even just honestly, may just be men. And we do have some men that actually follow us too, that just may be watching this. Any closing thoughts that's on your heart to share?
Well, I'll share what's coming up and you can share your part.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's coming up for the Ramseys definitely will be our book launch.
Mm-hmm.
We will be redoing our vows this year. So we're looking forward to that.
Nice.
It'll be simple, but I'm so grateful. If God's willing, our mother will be officiating that. So I'm grateful for that as well.
Awesome.
Um, we have our last child graduating. And so
Oh,
we're
wow.
Can I cheers some coffee to that? Oh my.
So we have three beautiful kids. Our last one will be graduating in May,
Wow.
and we're excited about accomplishing that goal of
Yeah.
raising three beautiful kids.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what's up and coming for this year. Of course, we have other things coming up, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what's coming up for us as the Ramsey.
Nice.
I do have a closing thought.
Mm-hmm.
It comes straight from the Ramsey way.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, trust God,
Yeah.
live with integrity,
Mm-hmm.
and honor relationships.
Oh,
You'll do that. I think you'll be just fine.
I love that. Well, thank you both so much for just everything. I love everything you guys shared, and I appreciate your time. And as we will continue to do is praying over all the things that God has designed for both of you guys to
Thank
do,
you.
because the work is just beginning. And I
Yeah.
will share this, it's just beginning. And I will share this one small thing that I think is something just to kind of for you both, just to know. I love the work that you guys are doing because I know couples are needing it. There has not been a conference that we have not hosted in the last few years. Even prior to this, many people thought I just started doing Behind Her Brand. We were doing conferences well over 15 years ago. For a solid 10 years, I did a conference called Diverge. And it was a lot of couples came. It was for marketing and branding, 2 days, just me. And at the end of every single one of them, it has never failed. And I'm beginning to wonder if this is more something that you guys are going to be stepping into. Men would come to me every single time and say, we need this for couples. I need this for me and my wife. They're desiring it. And then fast forward to the Behind Her Brand, it has not stopped. Charles and I sometimes get overwhelmed with the amount of men actually that will reach out because they love how their wives come back. They're wanting a space for men and couples to be where they can share vision and talk. And it's funny because they keep saying, why don't I host one? And I would always tell them, I said, I just don't feel led to. I feel like God hasn't stepped me into that space, but I feel like it's designed for others to do. But the need is definitely there. I think that what you guys are going to be building is going to bless so many families because I'm hearing it from men who are actually calling and saying, I want this. I want to build. And when they come into the room, you know, it's not awkward. It's not weird. They're fully in. They're like, hey, I'm here to learn too, alongside my spouse. And that's why we never restrict it. So I just love what you guys are going to do and how God's going to unfold it, because I don't feel like he's put that on my heart to do in this season of my life. I feel like I'm called for women right now, but hearing men feel so vulnerable and share and want it and desire it, for coupling, but also for individual, I feel like, Christopher, that's something you're going to be walking into, because men want to feel transparent. They want to share. And just the things that they're telling me and Charles is like, gosh. And Charles is sometimes like, man, I wish he put that on our hearts. But right now it's just, it's for us. Because he loves that. Charles loves realness and transparency and walking with the Lord. He loves the word of God like y'all both do. And I do too. I'm saying as if he's the only one, but we both do. But he has a special heart connection. And I hear that a lot in you. So I just pray that God just widens and grows the things that you guys are going to be doing, because there's a need. It is. And y'all are called to that space.
That is
Thank
received.
you so much.
That is received. Thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I pray you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. This was an honor and a privilege. We
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And everyone, I just encourage you guys we're going to put all their contact information to follow and be informed about the things that are coming down, because I know the Ramseys are getting ready to literally take the world by storm in multiple different ways. All right, everyone, be blessed and take care.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.